Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're cracking open the high-stakes, high-reward world of Vietnamese real estate stocks. This is a sector that can create fortunes or, leave investors absolutely terrified. We're going to decode the entire game for you.
So, what's the deal here? I mean, we all hear these stories of fortunes being made on property stocks, but then we've also seen the spectacular collapses. The potential for massive profits is undeniable, but the risks are just as huge. This is a market that can make you rich, or it can wipe you out. We're going to uncover what's really going on behind the scenes. And this right here is the absolute key to understanding everything. For many of these companies, the primary business isn't pouring concrete and building apartments. The real business is a sophisticated game of raising capital directly from you, the stock market investor. The homes, they're just the vehicle. Okay, so let's dive into this. To win any game, you first have to understand the rules and, maybe more importantly, the players. And believe me, this isn't your typical investment. It's a strategic battlefield. First off, you have to understand who is running these companies. They are often what's known in Vietnamese as con buong. Think master traders or maybe even financial gunslingers. They're in the business of real estate, yeah, but they never forget they're also in the business of their own stock price. They will use every tool and every trick of financial engineering to drive that price up and fund their grand projects.
Now, what's so fascinating is how this entire game plays out in surprisingly predictable cycles. If you understand the timing, you have a massive advantage. Let's break down that sequence. You have to remember this critical delay. The stock market is always looking ahead. It's what we call a leading indicator. It will hit its lowest point and start to recover a full 1 to 2 years before the actual physical real estate market does. This lag is where opportunities are born, and frankly, where impatient investors get absolutely crushed. And you need to know that not all booms are created equal. You have to identify which type is unfolding. Are we in a supply-driven boom where the market is just flooded with new projects? Or a price-driven boom where supply is tight but prices are just skyrocketing? They're driven by completely different forces and demand totally different strategies. So here's the crucial point. None of this happens in a vacuum. A real estate boom doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It is always, and I mean always, preceded by a period of massive credit expansion from the government. Specifically, you need to see the M2 money supply growing at over 15% annually. Without that cheap money flooding the system, there's just no fuel for the fire. Now let's see how this all plays out at the company level. We're going to walk through the life cycle of a typical real estate project, because this is where we find those hidden signals that predict the future. So here's the typical flow. They acquire land, get approvals, and then immediately start selling the vision of the project. They collect deposits and installment payments from customers, and here's the magic trick. They use the buyer's own money to fund the actual construction. Profits? They only appear on the official accounting books much, much later. This brings us right to the core of our analysis. If you want to see where our real estate company is headed, you don't look at their reported profits. That's old news. Instead, you look at two very specific, forward-looking items on their balance sheet. The first golden metric is inventory, or hangdong ko. This represents all the land they've bought and the value of projects currently under construction. Think of it as the company's pipeline. It shows the potential for future sales. The second, and arguably more important metric, is người mua trả tiền trước, or customer advances. This is the cash they have collected from actual buyers for projects that aren't finished yet. This isn't potential, this is real money from real people showing real demand right now. So let's be crystal clear on the difference. A rising inventory is a good sign. It shows ambition and future products. But a surge in customer advances, that is pure proof of present-day market demand. It's the most powerful leading indicator you have for predicting a company's future revenue and profits. It tells you they're successfully selling what they're building. Okay, this is what you've been waiting for. How do we use all this knowledge? Let's talk about the specific signals that tell you when to enter the game and, just as critically, when it's time to cash out and walk away. You do not jump in just because a stock looks cheap. That is a trap. You wait. You wait until the macroeconomy is clearly recovering, until the government is printing money, and until other leading sectors like steel have already started their run. And here's a pro tip. Let the first wave of real estate stocks go. Wait for the pullback, and then ride the second, typically much more powerful wave to the top. This is your number one exit signal, and it's subtle, so listen up. You sell when the rate of growth in customer advances begins to slow down significantly. Now notice, the number is still growing, it's still positive, but the pace is decelerating. Going from 70% growth to 40% to 10% is a massive red flag. The momentum is fading, the party is ending, and it is time to leave before the lights come on.
So, after all that complexity, the cycles, the players, the metrics, it can all be distilled into one simple, powerful rule. This is the mental model that should guide every single one of your decisions in this sector.
Always, always analyze in this order. First, understand the big picture macroeconomic environment. Is the government printing money? Is the economy recovering? Second, analyze the health of the real estate sector itself. Are the cycles aligning? And only then, after you've checked those first two boxes, do you start looking at the individual stocks and their golden metrics.
The playbook is now in your hands. The last boom and bust is behind us, but a new cycle will inevitably begin. The key is no longer being a passenger tossed around by the waves, but a navigator who sees them coming. So the question is, what signs will you be looking for?